All right, guys, we're on week 9 still of Roots. Today's passage is 1 Kings 8. We're only going to read verses 1 down through 53. It's a really long chapter, so we're not going to do the whole thing, but we'll do 1 through 53 today. Now, if you listened yesterday, you know that we talked about God's covenant with David, and a big part of that was that one of David's descendants would build the temple. You know, at this point, God's presence had been in the tabernacle, which was, the special tent place. You can read about that in some of the past readings and videos that we've done here. But David wanted to build a temple, like a permanent building, to be sort of the hot spot of God's presence. And David doesn't get to do that, but his son Solomon does. Well, in 1 Kings 8, Solomon has just finished building the temple, and this is his prayer of blessing over the temple. So he addresses God. It's this really long, beautiful prayer. There's a lot of good stuff in it. Just for the purposes of this video, I just want to focus on verses 27 down through 30. It says, "But will God indeed live on earth? Even heaven, the highest heaven, cannot contain you, much less this temple I have built. Listen to your servant's prayer and his petition, Lord my God, so that you may hear the cry and the prayer that your servant prays before you today, so that your eyes may watch over this temple night and day towards the place where you have said, my name will be there, and so you may hear the prayer that your servant prays towards this place. Hear the petition of your servant and your people Israel, which they pray toward this place. May you hear in your dwelling place in heaven. May you hear and forgive." It's very important that we realize that God is not limited to a building. God is everywhere. The highest heaven, it says, cannot contain him. It's not like God was like literally confined to this building and he wasn't sure what was going on outside of it. No, God is everywhere. But what the temple represents is it represents his presence in a particular place. It sort of becomes the place where if you want to meet with God, that's where you go. And so the temple symbolizes God's presence with the people, which is what we're after the point where God walks the people again, just like he did in the garden. So the temple sort of represents a return to the Garden of Eden, where God lives among people and dwells among them, and they're able to approach him and talk with him and pray towards him. And that's what Solomon's prayer really turns into all about. He's asking God, when people pray here, when people pray towards this place, God, when they pray acknowledging your presence with them, God, hear their prayers and answer them. That's what that thing is all about. Now, we don't live anymore under along with a physical temple. There is no physical temple that we go and worship at anymore. The church is not a temple. The church building, that is not a temple. It's not like God's presence is any more powerful here than it is anywhere else, because God is everywhere. Rather, the Bible says that we have become temples as the people of God. And so what that means for us is that the way that we live, we should be a symbol of God's presence on the earth. We should be like a return to Eden, which is good news for us, because that means that in our own private personal life, we have direct access to God because God is living in and with us. At the same time, we to the outside world, we are a symbol of his presence, of his rule and reign on the earth. And so we have to live in such a way that honors God, that glorifies him, that reveals his character to other people, because we are the sign, we are the symbol of God to the rest of the world. So live in such a way that you point to the redeeming presence of God.